Hello, Dr. Dave back with you again. I wanted to let you know that I've finished with my book. I have about 30 pages to go on the final proofread, so it'll be going over to the publisher soon. There's a lot of things that aren't in the book, but they're here on YouTube, and there's still a lot more stories to tell. I knew the Zodiac killer all of my life, starting when I was 4 or 5 years old when he tried to cut my throat. Now, I have something I want to talk about today. It's something that I've left out of everything that I've done on the Zodiac killer because I couldn't remember enough about it. But it has to do with this picture, this Red Ryder picture. Okay, this is drawn by Fred Harmon, the guy who invented this Red Ryder comic strip, which became a series on television and some different things. He worked with Disney for a while on some things, but the thing I couldn't remember about this picture was that Frank showed it to me one time in Mexico City, and he told me a whole lot of things about it. It didn't make any sense, but of course he was hinting and throwing his clues around. You know, this could have happened and that could have happened. Well, what he basically did was told me that he could have drawn on there, and he told me that he worked at that ranch, and he told me that I didn't know because he could have been an artist working at that ranch. I was assuming he was a ranch hand. And he really was in a bad mood that day, and he was twisting me around really bad, and I really didn't get it because I remember asking him, did you draw it or didn't you? And he got mad and gave me some answers, and I could have drawn it, but I didn't. This other guy, I think he showed me the name up here at the top and said Fred Harmon drew it. Got his name right there. You can't. This is really hard to see, but if you type in Red Ryder Zodiac Killer into the internet, you'll get this picture firsthand, and you can see a lot of things. This dark side, when you print it, it comes out really bad, covers up a lot of things, but I'm still going to show you what's on here as best as I can. Now, as I was saying, there's some things going on this picture, and Frank is telling me that when he gets done with the story, he worked at this ranch. He drew on this picture, because I remember asking him, how is it that you drew on someone else's picture and the thing got published? And he said that when people do something like this, they leave it laying around and then they go publish it. They don't always look closely at it to see if anything has changed. So he was able to draw things into this picture. Now, what I've gathered from my studies for the last couple of days and trying to remember what Frank told me was that he worked on this ranch probably in 1947, which was when he was released from prison. This makes sense because this ranch, if you draw a straight line from this ranch to Tampa, Florida, that line goes right straight through Texarkana, where he did the Moonlight Murders. So I think he was here. He killed a lot of people here, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. And then he went to Texarkana and killed some more. And then he went to Florida and went back to killing people there. Now, I think the Anglin brothers were with him at the time because they are depicted in this picture. And I'm going to show you why and how complicated it is to try and remember this. But because of the other things that I've remembered, now some of the things on here that he talked about make sense, and they never would have before. So let's get a close-up of this picture so that I can explain it to you. If you look at this cow right here, he has Frank's Zodiac signature on his side. Frank told me that when he worked on cattle ranches, both in prison and I guess here at this Red Ryder Ranch, saw this brand, and that's where he saw his initials in that brand. But he clearly told me that wasn't where he got his signature from. He told me that that signature came from a clip that they used to put fence wire on posts, and this is the clip. You see how it kind of looks like that? You gotta hallucinate. Remember, he was a schizophrenic psycho, and he said that put so many of these on posts that's when he came up with the idea, I think, of using this for his initials, Zodiac Killer initials. Frank Lee Morris was the Zodiac Killer. Him and the Anglin brothers. It was 3 of them. Over here, we look at this cow. You can't see it very clear here, but if you look at this on the internet, you will. That's a 41 right there on the side of this cow. Now, that top part of that 4 is drawn like a Z. I don't know what that has to do with anything because I don't think he had thought up this Zodiac thing in 1947. But this cow has this brand is a Z, which is kind of drawn into the number 41. How that fits in here at this time in Frank's life, I'm not sure, but there's a possibility that went into prison in 1941. Some of the key items that are really of importance here are going to be things like this, what he told me about. He said, do you see this right there? And I go, yeah. And he goes, what is it? And I says, it's a person running. He goes, is it a guy or a girl? And I told him, kind of looks like a girl. And he goes, yeah, the way she's running. He goes, and what's she got in her hand? And I go, I don't know. So he asked me, what do they always grab before they run? And I said, yeah, their purse. And he goes, okay. And I go, so what's she doing running out here in the wood? He said, does she look like she's having fun to you? And I go, no, she looks like she's scared. And he says, yeah, she's running away from something she's scared of. And I go, well, what could it be? And he goes, could be something that's happening inside of this building. So I asked him, well, you know, what could be happening inside of there? And he wouldn't tell me. And then I asked him, what is that little circle doing on the top of the building? It looks like it has an L in it. And he goes, well, that's important. I'm glad you noticed that. Look around. Do you see any more of those? And I go, yeah, I do. Here's another one with a question mark in it. There's another one there. I can't see what's in it. There's quite a few on here, okay? There's one right there on that sign, and it almost looks like it has a number 9 on it. And he said, and notice this Blanco River that it says there. He goes, that's important. So I'm thinking there was a swimming hole down there at the river, and they were going down there and catching people and bring them back here to kill them. There's another one here, but I can't read what the sign says. Another one of those little circles. This right here looks like someone sprawled out on the ground. There's a circle there. There's a circle there. There's a circle there. I mean, there's another one there. I mean, Frank left a trail of dead bodies everywhere he went, and that's what he was trying to tell me here, because I asked him about that, you know, what happened in those places, and he said that, well, you know, right in there, somebody could have got hurt in there. And I go, what do you mean? Somebody got hurt inside the building? He goes, yeah, they got hurt pretty bad. Somehow, in talking about it, he said they might have got killed, and he was pretty angry with the way he said it, so I'm pretty sure he was discussing some of his murders. Well, they killed a lot of people in here, according to these little circles that he drew everywhere on top of this picture of Fred Harmon's, and Fred never knew that Frank had doctored this picture up. And this went out public and went out that way. Now, here's the key part me to understand that Frank was there on that ranch with the Anglin brothers, because he said, see this? What does that look like? And I said, I don't know. It looks like a guy carrying a fishing pole. And he goes, yeah, the guy's coming back from fishing. And what does he have right here? And I go, I don't know, kind of looks like a fish. And he goes, you notice anything strange about it? And I go, well, yeah, it kind of looks like it has 2 legs. And he goes, yeah, he might be fishing for 2-legged fish. I didn't get it, but I think that's supposed to represent a kid that they brought back, or the body that they brought back, so they could have their little sexual fantasy with it. And he said, what do you see here? And I said, it looks like a guy getting a bucket of water out of this little water thing here. And he goes, yeah, that's what it is. So what I'm thinking is, this is John Anglin, because he's bigger than Clarence, and he's bringing back the body or the person that he captured. Clarence is getting his bucket of water so that Frank can clean himself up afterwards, because he told me, I asked him what was the significance of the bucket of water, and he told me, well, just remember that it's water, a bucket of water. Just remember that. You go over here and you see this guy who looks like a guy with a beard going into the house. Kind of looks like a penguin too. That may be Frank, and he's headed for the house. But let's look at something else here. This is really curious. He asked me about this. What do you see there? Well, if you look at this, it looks like a guy bending over a table, and this is the guy's back. But if you follow this looks like a girl laying on her side with her arms stretched out, or maybe on her knees with her hands out, and she's probably begging or praying. So I think that depicts another one of their murders. You know, there's a lot of things drawn into this card. There's something going on here that doesn't make sense. Who would draw bushes like that? Maybe even the smoke coming out of this smokestack may be important. And there are a couple more things that I want to show you. If you look right here, you'll see that arrow points to the location of this Red Ryder Ranch. Notice that it's on a border between New Mexico and Colorado, and Frank told me that was significant, and the reason is because some of his crimes are done on borders, because he knows that the police will have jurisdiction problems and they can't figure out what to do about it. And that's why Donna Lass is buried on the border between Nevada and California. Now, I want you to look at this. This is a Zodiac Killer's Pines card, and Frank told me that he got the idea of this card from this picture. Now look at it. See the row of buildings and a row of buildings with a space in between? Row of buildings, row of buildings, well, a building. Space in between, another building in the back, You look over here, you can kind of see a building in the back. And you see the people walking around there doing crazy things. 3 of them. And the 4th one down here. And I've told you before, the 3 is Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, and that is Donna Lass right there walking to her grave. And if you look here, John Anglin, Clarence Anglin, probably Frank Morris right there. There's significance in the fact that he looks like a penguin or and there's your girl in the picture who's trying to get away. He's always got a girl there that he's doing something really, really bad to. And while he's doing this whole thing, here's a guy sitting out here on a horse and doesn't even know that it's going on. Now take a close look again and look at this picture. Just get a picture in your mind of the trees and the buildings, and look at the Pines card, and look at the trees and the buildings, okay? And Frank told me that he got the idea for this card, the Pines card, the Zodiac Killer Pines card, from this picture that Fred Harmon drew, and Frank later added some things to it. Another thing I wanted to show you, if you look right here where I have the pointer set, Frank asked me, what do you see there? And I go, well, that looks like a letter M. M for Morris, right? And I've just now noticed that there's an L on this leg of it here, so Lee Morris. And then over here, he asked me, what do you see? And I said, 2 dots. And he goes, what does that remind you of? And I go, well, I don't know, maybe a couple of eyes looking at you. And he goes, yeah, that's good. That'll give you some new material to look at to maybe help match up this Zodiac Killer thing, and hopefully it'll help you understand that Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers were the Zodiac Killers, because if you look at this, everything in here matches with the things that I've told you before. Again, that's it for today, and I hope that this helps you to understand the truth about the Zodiac Killer, because there are so many morons out there telling people that they know who the Zodiac Killer was, and their suspects don't even look like the pictures of the Zodiac Killer. If you look at all the pictures that I have on all my videos, you'll see that Frank Morris closely resembles the drawings, police drawings and sketches of the Zodiac Killer and D.B. Cooper, but you have to factor in the fact that he had facial surgery before he did the D.B. Cooper jump. Now that only makes sense because you're going to jump out of an airplane. There's a lot of people on there that are going to see you. You don't want to walk in there looking like Frank Lee Morris when he's a wanted man at that particular point in time, and it wasn't that many years after they escaped from Alcatraz. That all makes sense. Now, one thing that you cannot miss is when you look at his face, you see killer in his eyes, and you see the same thing in the Anglin brothers' eyes. That doesn't go away in any of the pictures that are out there of Frank Morris, the Anglin brothers, or any of the suspects for any of the Zodiac killings. That look on their face of anger that you see right before they kill you, you're not going to forget it. Believe me, I saw it a lot of times when Frank Morris was breathing down my neck trying to take me out. I told you one time that I hit him with a bicycle tire. When I was in Mexico, he told me that he owed me because I cut his finger when I was little, and that I done a lot of other things to him, so he said, but it was all about me escaping from them trying to kill me. And at the end of it, he turned around and walked away, and he looked back at me and he said, and a few tire tracks too, and he went like this on his arms, and that's where I had hit him with the tires on the bicycle. I explained all that to you in another one of my videos. So I have 70 some videos now on YouTube. Anyone in their right mind who sits and watches all these videos and really gives it some thought, there's no way that you can mistake that, number one, I'm telling you the truth, because no one can tell this story so many times, as many times as I have, and not get all tangled up in it. The only reason that I don't have a problem retelling the stories because this actually happened to me. I knew these guys. It's not something I have to make up and rethink every time I come up with a new video or whatever. This is all in my head from life's experiences. And if you can watch all of those videos and you still don't get the fact that Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers were the Zodiac killers, then, you know, if Frank was here, he would tell you, you just don't have the IQ for it. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for watching, and watch for my book. It should be out soon.